few weeks ago, I created a conference poster and luckily documented the process. In this video, I will show you what that entailed. If you're new here, my name is Odile Mackett and I'm a lecturer. On my page, you will find a host of resources to help you become a more effective student or academic. I also have a newsletter which you can sign up for at odilemackett.com. If you're a returning visitor, welcome back. Let's dive in. The conference for which I got my poster accepted was the International Association of Feminist Economics Conference. On their conference webpage, they had very specific requirements for the poster design. This is important to read through if you are preparing a poster. Many conference organizers will have a physical space where they will display the poster, and if your poster is not designed according to the guidelines based on the available space, it probably won't fit. For the layout, I also made use of guidelines I found on Colin Purrington's website. The link to his page is in the description below. On his website, Colin also provides a useful set of do's and don'ts which are useful to work through if you are making a poster. Be sure to check it out. While you're there, go over to his About page and consider buying him a virtual coffee. On his page, he provides outlines for vertical and horizontally laid out posters. Based on the side guidelines I got from the conference webpage, it was clear that my poster was going to have a vertical orientation. I used Canva to create the poster and started my design based on the size guidelines which were provided. Before I started the layout of the poster, I checked the conference website to ensure that my title included all the necessary information. This included the title of the poster, my name, and my institutional affiliation. While I did all this, I also played around with the fonts a bit to ensure that my fonts are plain and not hard to read, before I started the layout of the poster using Colin's portrait template. Next, I had to start adding content. I wanted to test whether I would be able to copy and paste the graphs I made in Excel before adding content, and it worked. Because a poster is a visual tool, I made generous use of graphs while keeping my text minimal. I did, however, need the traditional sections I would have included in the paper anyway. So I included a section for an introduction, the results, the conclusion, methods, and references. I then started filling in the blanks using subheadings where necessary to provide a rough guideline within the larger sections. Based on the content, I also readjusted the initial sections I created to make sure that the content that needed the most space was accommodated. I also played around with the formatting of the headings to ensure that they would be sufficiently bold to guide the eyes. I then played around with accents for the headings and simpler fonts which would make the text even easier to read. I thought of bright highlights but ended up settling for a pink color scheme to make the poster easy on the eyes, using different shades for different levels of headings. After adding the bulk of my text, I realized that the introduction would need the most text in the absence of a literature review section. So I decided to move the method section to the side of the conclusion, which I didn't anticipate needing a ton of text for. This allowed me to provide some context for the literature in the introduction text box. As a very last step, I then started moving the outlines of the boxes the text was in so I could get a sense of what the poster would look like without it. But I realized that if all the text boxes were removed, it would be difficult to segment the different chunks of content. I then settled on keeping the results section boxed in a lighter color that matched the color scheme. One important element of the poster is that it needs contact details, as you will not always be there to speak to it or introduce yourself to conference goers perusing it. So the first detail I added was my work or professional email address. This is usually the most basic element. I also added some icons to match the detail I was putting on the poster. Canva has a really nice spread of customizable icons for this. I also added my Twitter handle and the address to my website where most of my contact details are available anyway. Then I formatted these to match the color scheme of the poster. After adding some more text, I added my references. To make sure I had a reference for each source in the poster, I copied and pasted the paragraphs which had references to the literature cited box, deleted the text and looked up the full reference detail for each source reflected on the poster. Some I got from the internet and others I got from my Zotero library. I needed some more space, so I tried to move around the contact details but ended up moving them back after I reduced the font size of the references and moved the heading from the top to the side of the box. I then added a few accents in the text in bold to allow the reader to follow the main parts of the text with more ease, and then exported my poster as a print PDF before submitting it. If you've ever created or presented a poster, let us know in the comments below. Happy creating!